Hi everyone, good Monday morning. It's raining here in Moncton, New Brunswick, and it feels like October, not the middle of June. But I have to say, everything is very, very green and beautiful. I love it. So today we are going to talk to Aboriginal medium Shawn Leonard, and I'm so excited. So we're going to give him a minute to find us and see if we can get this working. Uh, I think it's gonna work. It's calling him.
Hello,
Hi.
how are you?
Yay. How are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
Good. You were just traveling, so you just got home last night, was it?
Yeah, I got home like 2 a.m. or 2:30 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, it was
Oh
a
my goodness.
little
Well, thanks
foggy
for
in my
joining
brain
us.
today. Well, thanks for having me on. This is the first time I've done this, so now I'm gonna have to learn from this so that I can,
Oh,
go forward and do this myself somehow.
it's all
Can you hear
good.
me?
It's a
Okay.
learning curve and it's fun. So
Oh,
I'm
cool.
just gonna share the video onto my personal page so it can gain some momentum. So
Sure.
just give me a moment.
Okay.
Is it raining
Hello,
there
everyone.
too, Sean?
What's that?
I said, is it
Pardon?
raining there too?
It's sprinkling. It's sprinkling a little bit. It's cold.
Sprinkling.
Just actually turned the heat on for a second because it's cold for June,
It is
you know, 8
cold.
June 18th. I mean, this is I was just in Toronto and it was 27 degrees like 3 days in a row and it was super nice. So it was coming back home. I'm always this is my home. I love it here, but it's definitely colder here right now.
It is cold.
Yeah.
So welcome. I'm so glad we got this working. So everyone, my name is Chrissy Ann, spiritual grief coach, and we have Shawn Leonard today, Aboriginal medium, and I'm so excited to have you today.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me in to have this discussion. So what are we going to talk about today, Chrissy? What would you like to talk
Well,
about?
you know, when I was thinking about it and getting ready for today, I was thinking about when I lost my baby about 6.5 years ago. The grief really sent me searching for him.
Yeah,
And I was like, he's got to be somewhere, like he can't just be gone. He's got to be somewhere. And then things just started happening. So, like I started tuning in to the events that happened before he passed. Like the example I always give is blue jays, flocking to the tree in front of our house. Well, they only really flock one or two together. They're never really, a dozen together.
yeah,
And the song would randomly pop in my head somewhere over the rainbow where bluebirds fly constantly the month before he passed. So it just opened my awareness to wait a minute, like that those are signs. And now, like just yesterday when I was thinking about what we would talk about today, no joke, I'm walking by the window and my doorstep has like a iron rail on it and a blue jay sitting there staring at me through my window.
well, that's so cool.
So
That's
I'm like,
awesome. Well, those
oh,
are definitely signs. It's funny. I mean,
yeah.
Spirit finds a way to connect and communicate to us through, all of this crazy world that we live in. It finds ways to get our attention. Spirit has like enormous intelligence and enormous amounts of love and connection to us all. And if we pay attention, we're aware, and if we communicate or interact with it, it makes it even more stronger and even more apparent in our lives that this is not a coincidence. It's not something that happens by accident. It's something that is meant to happen. It's like, I mean, literally, like what Wayne Dyer used to say is like, coincidence means if you break it down to the simplest term, it would be coincide, which means something that's meant to happen. It's meant to be. So the universe is always looking for ways, our loved ones are always looking for ways to connect and communicate to us in so many ways. And if we're open to it, available, and it can come with great gifts and great peace and great love and great connection. We don't always, whether we're physically here or spiritually here, we're still here. And we can interact with each other. We can connect and communicate with each other through this field of energy, whether it's visible or invisible to our eyes, it's still all around us.
Oh, yes, definitely. And especially when people lose loved ones, right? They're yearning for some sort of still, connection with that. So what are some ways they can open themselves up to seeing those signs? Because often I talk to people and they're like, I'm asking for signs and I'm asking and I'm asking and I'm asking, and I'm not getting them. So
Right.
could you give them some tips on like, because I think, and perhaps I'd love to have your take on this, that maybe they're trying to control the signs too much of what that sign might be, so they're missing them.
Right.
Um, right? So I'd like your take on all that.
Right. Well, I mean, I always tell everybody that comes to see me, I mean, because I'm a medium, so I get to connect with people in spirit all the time, is that you have to learn to love them where they are because they're still with you. They've not left you. They've physically left you, but that essence of that person, that spirit is still with you in so many ways. And they do find a way to connect and communicate. And it's those things that continually show up. I mean, and I always tell people to ask themselves when something shows up, whatever it is in their life that seems to be odd, who do they think of when they see that? And take their
Mm,
first impression. What comes to your heart, what comes to your mind, what comes to your spirit as to who that might be from. And you'll know, your heart always knows. And then it repeats. It's like when they realize that they've gotten your attention, then it's like, okay, we've got your attention. They're going to continue to do this. We're going to say, okay, you're going to recognize this. You're going to recognize this. So that's their way of continually saying, hey, I'm with you. I'm here. I'm not left you. I'm still here. And I mean, I wrote a chapter in my own book, The Language of Spirit. I wrote a chapter in the boat, my father, because I've had all kinds of signs from my dad when my dad passed away when I was 15 years old. Blue Jays and dimes and songs that come on the radio, House of the Rising Sun. But there was one time, and I'm not saying that you need to do this, but my dad's been gone since 1987. It's been a long time. And I was really missing my dad, and I wanted to know he could do something different. So I challenged him. I really challenged him. I put it out there. I said, Dad, I know that you do this. I know that you're with me. I know that you're there, but I want something a little bit unique and different this time. And I asked him for a dove. And I said, I don't know how you're going to do this. And I said, Dad, I really need you to clearly hear me because I know that you can. I don't want just any old dove. I want a real dove. And real doves aren't like common. You don't see them. I could probably count the number of times on one hand how many times I've actually seen a real physical dove. So every day I woke up and I talked to my dad and I said, Dad, um, I really, I'm waiting to see this dove. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I'm waiting for it. And then things got a little weird. Like I'd be watching TV and, Dove toilet paper commercial would come on and there'd be like doves flying around with kittens and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I said, I know you're trying good, Dad, here, but this is not what I requested. And then I'd be like driving in traffic, and then I'd be stuck in traffic, and there would be a moving truck to my right, parked right beside me in traffic, and it was two doves moving. And I'm like, no, that's great, Dad, but that's not what I asked for. And eventually, after some time of asking my father, I was driving to a group reading in Calgary where I was living at the time. As I drove across town, one of the songs came on the radio. It was the House of the Rising Sun that my dad used to play on the guitar. He played it and sang it well. And so I heard the song and I said, well, I'm sure that's you, Dad, but I'm still waiting for that sign that I keep asking you for. And as I drive in traffic, and I'm doing like 100 kilometers an hour on the highway in Calgary on this main road that goes through. It's called Deerfoot Trail. And off to my left was the Bow River, and I think I just passed Memorial Drive. And as I was driving, I seen a white bird off in the distance. And I'm driving and I'm passing everybody too at the same time. And I'm looking over, trying to, still watch the road, watching this bird. I'm like, there's no way that's a dove. And it gets closer and closer and closer. And it's like coming right, like flying sideways up closer to my car. And when I look out the window, it's a dove. And not only is it a dove and I'm doing 100K on the highway, but this thing is flying right beside my window and looks me right in the eyes. It was like 2 feet away, 2 feet away. And I was like, oh my God, I started to cry. I mean, who wouldn't? And I was like, I don't know how the hell that happened. And then what was even funnier was I was crying, and here I'm going to a group reading, um, and a song come on right after, and the song was titled "It's Okay to Cry for Me," and then it was like just putting the little cherry on top of the ice cream there. It was just like,
Oh,
my dad really got it through. Does that happen every day in my life? Does that need to happen every day in my life? No, because it was that one time out of like the 30 some years now that I've lost my father that I really wanted something different and special, and I don't expect that from him anymore. I don't need that, but I wanted him to come through. And spirit time and our time is so different, and they might not always get it in the time frame that we like, but it does show up in time. And I'm not suggesting that anybody needs to go do that. Recognize the signs they do, but if it's been a long time, put it out there. Put something out there unique that you would know that if it was them, there would be no other way that it could happen unless it was them that made it happen. And
yeah,
if
and it's
if you,
important to
it
take
is
note that when they do see them, and it's the same moment that they're thinking of them,
right,
that that is a sign, right?
right. So they are signs. I mean, that's how it's part of the communication of spirit. I mean, it's just the thoughts in our heads too. I mean, most of us every day will go through life, and I'm sure there's not a day where somebody that you love, especially if they passed recently, hasn't just popped into your mind out of the blue. And
Yeah.
you could be doing whatever. You could be shopping at Superstore or Sobeys or at work, and all of a sudden you're thinking about your dad, you're thinking about your child, you're thinking about your parent. Um, that's a communication too. And I think most of us think it's our own thoughts. And when you just break us all down, there's really nothing solid in any one of our bodies. We just think we're solid. We're just energy vibrating at different frequencies. And it's changing every second and every moment. If you break every molecule down, it's just a small little particle that is vibrating into being. I mean that, and each cell is, I like to say, is filled with light because we're made of light. I mean, when you look at the human body under a scan or like an MRI, I mean, you can see the electric impulses going through the body, communicating with each other. And when we're done with this kind of like shell of a suit, I like to say the the flesh suit, we'll call it. When you scan somebody, that light is no longer communicating through the body, but that light leaves our body. I like to say that's our spirit body. Um, I've actually read and seen some things too about one type of photography. It's called Kirkland photography. And it was photography back in the old days that I'm not sure what they were trying to use it for, but they ended up using it to see people's auras. So what happened was they would take pictures and there'd be like lights and kind of like this energy around people that they could only pick up on this Kirkland photography. So what happened was one person had gotten a picture, but was missing their legs or missing their arm. They lost it for whatever reason in life. But in the picture, they were still there. It was like in the
Wow.
picture, you could still see the arm. It was like it was still on the outline of our spirit body. So there's an essence to us that is much bigger than just. I should have turned off my notifications. So do you guys hear that? I just got a something from CNN, breaking news. So to keep that in mind. But anyway, it's
Well, what you're
you know
saying is breaking news, right? So
yeah, it is. Maybe that's spirit's way of saying this. Breaking news. Yes, look at your
everybody
body
pay
differently.
attention.
Right. I mean, we're guaranteed we're here. We're physically here. Absolutely, we're here. We're having an experience. We're living a life. But one thing's guaranteed: none of us are meant to be here forever. We'll all
Right.
have a time to go home. I mean, there's a time that we're meant to be here and live our life to the fullest and embrace it to the fullest and to the greatest experience that we can have and be the best that we can be. I think that's the plan for us all. Some of us might get lost along the way
Yeah.
or stuck, and that's where I feel like we have many lifetimes too. It's not even just this one life. Like we have forever to get it. God's an equal opportunity employer. They don't just say, "Hey, you got this one chance," and then, after this, sorry, you didn't quite make it, man. No, we have so many lifetimes. And does that mean anybody in the spirit world's in a rush to come in? No. I won't be in a
No,
rush to come back
no, it's
myself.
not, it can be very tough in this shell that we're living in, especially when we
Right?
go through difficult times. And I would like to know your take on this, where we have to go through grief. Grief comes in all forms. But today we're talking, about spirit and death. So like, for instance, my loss of a child, like that is so hard to take. And I honestly went through a lot of anger with God. Like, why would you do such a thing? What would Spirit's world be take on that, or do you have any insight on why we would have to go through such pain and loss like that?
Well, I've been through my own pain and loss, and even though it was hard, it was a gift because it's love. It's love that is displaced, that you don't have a place to put it. You feel like that physical love, but love is not. What I've learned for that is that it's the wisdom that you gain from those experiences with loss and grief. Is that love is not a physical thing. It's love. I mean, I love my mom, although I don't see her every day. I mean,
Right.
that doesn't mean that I couldn't go visit her. She lives in Elmsdale. I love my girls, my two daughters in Calgary, who I hardly ever see because they live in Calgary. Um, and I can still talk to them. I can call them on the phone. I mean, there's just a little bit of a different connection that I have with people in spirit now. It's just instead of like calling them on the phone, it's more the thoughts that still connects me. So the gift of grief is learning how to love differently, and love transcends the physical. And that's what we're all meant to get this. We're all meant to learn this in life at one point, and there's going to be something or somebody that we lose, or not necessarily lose, but that is separate from us for some time, or we feel separate from. But eventually, we'll rediscover this connection that has never really truly been gone, that it's always been with us, but we become more aware of. So that's the gift.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like God or the Great Spirit. I mean, it's all around us. It's part of us. It's in every single person. It loves us enormously, but sometimes we can't see it. But it's learning to love the greater whole, or consciousness of the whole, without being able to see it, or personally. I mean, it's in everything.
Yeah, it's not as tangible as we're used to in this physical world. And I look back in the moment that I lost my son, I am starting to see that that was the moment our relationship was redefined. It was a
Right.
new beginning. Like you said, it was I had to learn to love that way, right? Instead
Right.
of loving, holding him in my arms and feeding him and changing his diaper. I had to learn to love him in the way that he is, right? Where he is,
Yeah.
where he's at. So that was the journey through grief was connecting with that love, and it opened my eyes to this whole magic that we're living in that we don't see, right?
Right.
Like that was a gift he gave me because I searched for him in my grief and searched for him and connected to that love that I have for him. I opened my eyes to the magic that is really around us, right?
Right. That's he. Is it your son, correct?
Yes.
What was his name?
Carter.
Carter. So Carter has given you the greatest gift of love that he could possibly give you before you and him had ever incarnated into this life and for the time that you have. His gift was to awaken you. And out of his love and your love for him, you made a contract before you came here into life that he would come into your life and teach you the greatest lesson that you could ever learn in all your life so that you could help other people understand this concept. So that was
Yes.
a choice that you made before we got here. Um, the greatest gift of this too is even though it never ends in the physical, you're not here physically forever either. You're going to be with him again. You will see him again. This is just a short time. life seems so long when we're here, but it's really not that long. I mean, I just heard about a man who, a friend of mine who lost a friend of theirs that they work with, and he was only 50 years old, died of a massive heart attack. I mean, at whatever stage in life you are, it's still loss of that person. That you
Mhm.
have to experience that. We all experience that. But there's reasons why people leave our lives. We might not see it right away. We might not understand it right away, but there is a reason for it. There is a purpose for it. Whether it was your son or my dad, we have a calling because they have left our lives. That was the one thing that my father told me when I had seen him 1 year after, was that he had visited me and I saw him in the light and he looked really good and well, and for whatever reason he was wearing a long white robe, but I guess that's what they wear over there sometimes. But he said very specifically to me, he says, "This is the greatest gift. We had this contract, and you're not going to understand this. Before we ever came into life, that I chose to die so that I could show you the light, so that
Mhm.
you can move forward and help other people in the future." And it sounded like gibberish to me. And even for you, I mean, you might not be able to understand that right away, but now from the consciousness that you've gained and the love that you've gained and the experience you've gained from this loss of your son Carter, that now that you're the person that you are, and you're a gift to the world, and he gave you that gift, and not only did he give you that gift, he's giving everyone that you get to touch because of that gift.
Yeah.
It's like you get to reach so many people, and it's out of his love for you and your love for him and his love for all of us that is here too, that he's able to work through you with doing that.
Yeah, and I believe it's that way for everybody, right? Like we have, like you said, these soul contracts, these relationships with our loved ones, and when they leave before us, they've become our guide, and we can choose to welcome that guidance in and follow it to our true purpose, to our enlightenment. It doesn't happen to just a few like you or me. It can happen to everybody,
Right.
right?
Yeah, we all have an opportunity to choose how to deal with the grief in different ways. We can use it to empower us. We can use it to help enlighten us. We could also you know, get stuck in that grief for a long time. A lot of people do. Hence why there's people like us out here in the world, whether it's a psychologist, a grief counselor, or a psychic medium. I mean, we all have callings to help people grow through those processes because of our experiences. Is that calling
Yeah.
for everybody? No. But what we can learn is that we're never separate, that we're connected, that we can still communicate and have a relationship, and they want to have a relationship with us. And that's
Yeah.
us in our work helps people find that way. And I
And
find it one of the highest callings, if not my highest calling in my life, that I could give to anyone. And I know that you're called upon to do the same, and you know it's a great honor, and I'm so
it is a great
fortunate
honor. And
that that Spirit chooses me or Spirit chooses you to do the work that we do.
yeah, and the calling could be different for everybody, but you alluded to earlier how we're really here to really fully live life, to enjoy every aspect of life. And I truly believe that the spirit world and our loved ones who have gone before us are there to help us find that, if enjoyment of life and to live through the fullest. I mean, we call that purpose, right? We live life with purpose. It might not be a calling like mine or yours, but it's to really just embrace life so fully with that purposeful living, right? And they're there to show us how, or to show us signs on how to get there.
Right. They absolutely do. So I feel, I know I have a blessed life because of my connection to Spirit. Um, I'm, I do believe we all have a path in life, whether we listen to those callings. I mean, that's up to us. I mean, we can resist and drag our feet and drag, or we can, feel that and move through it and work with it because that's what it was meant to do.
Yeah, like Leah Parsons just commented, you can drop into love or fear, right?
Right.
So that's exactly that. And I did see a question pop up that I will bring. Who was it?
Yeah, because I
Um,
can't see any of the questions or comments.
I know, I know. When I was a guest, I couldn't either, but I got this.
Okay, cool.
um, Carol McIntyre says, "How would you know that your loved one is in heaven?"
Well, I don't believe there's any other place other than heaven. That's my belief. Like, nothing against any religion, anything like that. I do believe that we can become more connected to the earthbound world. That like, in there's very like as a ghost or somebody that has not moved on for whatever reason. But from my experience, that is rare. It is very rare. And I'm going to say 99.9999% of the people that I have connected to have all been in a good place. It's very rare. I'm actually very surprised when I run into somebody that hasn't made it. And freaks me out a little bit if you hear in there because when I hear people that are more earthbound, it's like there's another person physically in the room. And although I can't see them, I can hear them. And they speak to me and say different things to me, and it kind of startles me because it's so rare that when it happens, it's like, and to tell you a story, I visited. Um, this is years ago, a couple of years ago. I was out in Musquodoboit, and I was and a friend, Janet. I can't remember her last name, but I'll just say Janet. She had a trailer, and she invited me out there to spend the night, and so we went out and had dinner, and then we went out and had a fire after. And as we sat beside the fire, and I was just enjoying the fall evening, I heard this older woman come up beside me and say, "I don't like you on my property." I'm like, "What?" I didn't even know she was there. And then I was like, you got somebody hanging around here. I said, "There's an older lady that just talked to me." And she goes, "Oh yeah, that's so and so." She's like, she knows about her. I don't know if she really knows about her or not, but she says, "Yeah, I think there's the old owner of the house." She says, "This is actually where we're having the fires where our house used to be. It burnt down." And I'm like, "Oh, that's great." But so I knew this woman was there, and if I ever find anybody that is in this place or space, I try to help them because even spirits sometimes need help, and
Yeah.
because there's an essence of our ego that can still hang on for whatever reason. So she can, I took out my phone, or not my phone, it was my ex-wife's phone, but I hit record, and I said, I know she's going to come back and talk to me, because usually when these people talk to me, I can actually record them saying things to me. So even though other people can't hear it, the cool thing is when I hit record, when they do talk to me, I can hit stop, play back, and you can hear them saying what they say to me. So I waited, and it was probably about 15 minutes went by, and I was kind of like weirded out because I knew somebody was eventually going to come back and talk to me. And then after about 10 or 15 minutes sitting beside the fire, this woman comes back and goes, "Tell that woman her son I don't want him hunting on my property." I'm like, oh my God. So I hit stop, played it back, and you could hear her saying it to me. So, and that was the last time I heard or seen her, and she never come back to talk to me. I was a little kind of scared to sleep over because I thought she was going to come and bug me in the middle of the night.
I
But
don't blame you.
does that happen very often? No. That's like a very rare occurrence when that happens. I could probably on two hands count the number of people that I've run into all my life that I've had experiences like that. So, and I've been many, many places. So is there that many people that are still lingering around the world? No. So and when I do all my readings, it's very rare that somebody doesn't come through. Um, everybody's people I connect to typically. They're over there. So I mean, and when you're in spirit or in light in the spirit world, there's a non-locale part to it. If we were having this conversation like we are now, and you were up in New Brunswick, and I'm here, they could still connect to me wherever you are. They could be with you with me at the same time. You could be in China, and they could still be with me and you at the same time. But when I run into somebody who is more earthbound, they're very local. I can't hear them unless I go where they are. So when I do run into those people, I try to help them move on. Can I make them? No. We all have free will. Nobody can make anybody do anything, even in the spirit world. But I do try to help reason and coax and tell them that this is not where they need to be. And even in life, when we meet physical people that are going through hardship, that's not where they need to be. They need to be in a place of healing or moving through their grief or moving forward in life in some way or taking steps to live that life that they had always planned for themselves before they come here. Um, but I don't believe, what I would say is to know if your people are there, talk to them,
Mm.
communicate to them. They will communicate back to you. They will let you know they're with you and around you. They will give you validation. Because if you, when you truly know in your heart and talk to them from your heart, you will get signs, you will get messages, you'll have dreams. You know, there'll be a connection
Yeah.
that
And
is
I
definitely
think
there.
that's,
But talk to them.
yeah, the key to talk to them is to make sure that you're in your heart, right? Like to find that stillness for a minute and connect with that expansive space within your heart and talk to them from there, right? And
Yes.
bring them to heart. So, bring them to mind, bring them to heart in that space. Because sometimes when we're in our mind and we're trying to control the communication and the talk, it's still too ego based. I think like there's a block there. Like you really need to come down from a place of love, um, and that's where I think is the clearest for me anyway in my experience. When I talk to my Carter or my grandfather or friends who have passed that I grew up with, it's in that stillness of the heart that is the clearest communication that I have found.
Hmm. Yeah, you can talk to them and say, visit me in a dream. You can meditate and create a space for allow them to come in. Um, there's all kinds of different ways that we can allow them and allow ourselves to connect to them and communicate to them. But we have to create space for that. So whether it's through prayer or speaking or asking them and giving them that permission to connect and communicate to you through a dream, or coming to connect to you through meditation, which is all possible.
I've also written a letter and asked in the letter for signs and what I needed and just let it unfold in the days after, and that's worked for me as well.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just like you said
that's
that.
like a prayer. That
Yeah,
letter, that's just a conversation you're having. And that's like really whether you write it down or speak it from your mouth or your mind out there, it's a prayer. I mean, that's how I define prayer.
yeah. Well, exactly. Yes, definitely. And it's just to, like you said, there's no time there. Like time is just something we have made in this world. So to allow the space for those signs to come in, right? Like they might not show up within 2 seconds of your request, but they will show up.
Yeah. I mean, and I do hear from people, a lot of people that they've never actually tried to communicate or speak to them or even ask them to do something. And I get a lot of, especially since my book has been out, I get a lot of people emailing me, telling me, I asked for a sign and I got it. It was like within a day, it was within an hour, it was like really quick. Is it
Yeah,
going
the
to be like
asking
that for
is
everybody? Absolutely not, man. It took my dad 3 months to get the sign to me, but it'd be too weird if I talked to my dad and said, "Hey, I would like to see a dove," and one showed up. That would probably freak me out. But it had to be special. It had to be the right moment. It had to be the right place and time. And obviously, he had to find a dove somewhere. So uh, I still don't know how he made that happen, but.
yeah. So, with someone going through a difficult time in grief, is there anything that you'd like to say to comfort them? What they could, from the spirit world or anything that's coming to heart right now, when people are going through a difficult time.
I'd say just take your time. Don't feel like you need to be over your grief too soon. Feel your grief.
Mm,
Feel it because you're going to need to feel it. Feel it for as long as you need to feel it until you don't need to feel it anymore, until you can shift or move into a place of healing and love, and deal with it. Don't resist it. Don't push it away. Because that what you know again, Wayne Dyer, great teacher, great spiritual teacher. What you resist will persist. It will show up in other ways of your life until you deal with it. So deal with it in your life. You know, feel it, manage it in a healthy way as much as you can. You know, talk to friends, talk to them. Um, you know, just be well in life as well as you can.
Yeah, and I think the key is that feeling, right? Like you need to be with your grief and you need to feel that. If you, like you said, if you resist, it persists, and it all also could serve as a block to receive signs from your loved one as well, because you're so stuck in that grief because you're not allowing it to move. So it's all that you feel, it's all that you see, and it becomes, the world that you see, right? So when you actually feel it and allow it to go as much as it comes, let it go, right? Like feel it fully. You're making room for that more expansive love perspective that strengthens the connection with the spirit world.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all creators. We create our life every day with how we think, how we feel, our thoughts, our expectations, our desires. We're creating our life, and it could be in a negative way. We can create a life where we're stuck. And but it's if you're in this place or feel you're in that space, the 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 first part of being in that space is to recognize that you are, and then seek help. Seek help from
Yeah.
friends, seek help from people, talk about it. Don't feel like you're alone. Like get out there and communicate to whoever you can, because that could lead, if you don't deal with it, that's where energy that is like blocked, if it's not dealt with, can lead to depression. It can lead to other things. And it's not a good space to bleed. So you need to talk, communicate, connect to friends, your family. If you need professional help, get professional help. I don't, and it's for me, and maybe I should put this out there too. I mean, a counselor is a good place to start, a grief counselor, a grief therapist. I don't think a medium is the place you should start. I think that, not that I think that the work that I do is an asset, but I think you need to feel your grief and deal with your grief first. I think you need to go through some experience. And then when you feel like you're starting to get through this, I usually tell people at least like 6 months to a year, then you start to feel a little bit different about it. And you're maybe ready for that next part of your healing, then maybe come to somebody like me. I'm not saying you need anybody like me, but definitely my thought on that. I think I froze. Did I? There,
Yeah, you
somebody
froze.
messaged.
It's okay. I,
Yeah.
I think,
So,
I agree that, you need to acknowledge, first of all, that you're grieving, and you need to own it, right? Like you need to be with the what is, I always say, like the what is, for example, with my baby who is gone, like when we lost him at birth, my baby's gone, right? Like that's the place where I grieve from. I didn't grieve from a place of, oh, he be one now, he be walking, or he be six now, he be riding a bike, because that's creating situations to constantly grieve. So I would
mm,
always come back to the what is and grieve from that place, and I would take action on it. So what was my heart telling me to do? And it's those thoughts that pop in that are not your regular thoughts. You know how your thoughts tend to repeat again and again throughout the day, like what your normal thoughts are, your to-do list, and when you're grieving, it's the loss of your loved one, right? But then suddenly you'll have this voice that goes, go for a walk, right? Like go for a walk in nature, or pick up a pen, or those are little breadcrumbs to help you feel, and to voice it, to talk to someone is very powerful as well, because it's movement, right?
hmm
So yeah, definitely. Um, what I would really love for you to share with us right now too is your book, because I'm really excited about it, because when we met, it was in progress, right? Like it was
yeah.
in the works, and now it's tangible. Like how does that feel?
Oh,
Like
awesome. Like I've been working on the book for 3 years, I believe, and there's been many ups and downs and a whole story to even getting the book out there. I could write a book about writing the book. But you know what? It's something that I've always felt inside my spirit. I was listening to my guides, the people guiding me from the spirit world that have always been with me all my life. My people, the people that my dad, there's a many reasons why this book is in the world, and it has very little bit of about who I am, but about how I became who I am, because there
Yeah.
was a journey. We all have journeys in life, and if when we can look back and see our life and see the path that has led us to where we are today, those stories, those experiences, that wisdom, that's meant to be shared, whatever your story is. And my story is, unique to me. I mean, there's probably other mediums out there. We all have many unique stories, but what I've learned along my journey, I wanted to share. I think it's important to share. I think these gifts that have been given to me in life weren't meant for just me. They're meant to help other people see the world a little bit differently, to see maybe help them become a little bit more spiritual or more connected, or to connect to their people, whether they're their angels, their guides, and their loved ones that are in the spirit world. That was my goal for the book, is to help people see the world differently from my eyes, but not saying that it's only my eyes, that they have their own, and to see the world through their eyes too, and their own unique experiences. And I get a lot of stories about people, again, who can relate to my experiences in the book because they've had their own experiences or had similar experiences. So I like helping people think about themselves and their own journey and their own experiences, because that's what they need to be doing. And because when you can reflect back and see, then you can see that it's not random.
Mm.
It's absolutely not random. There's like you said, following the breadcrumbs, of life. That all these little breadcrumbs, whatever we've gone through, have led us to where we are currently right now in the present moment. I mean, that's why you write a book, is to reflect back on those little breadcrumbs, and I think there's significant stories for us all. And the more
Yeah.
aware, the more connected to spirit you are, the more you recognize it, and the more they will show up in your life. And it's awesome. I'm really happy that I was able to write the book and finally get it out there. And it did really well, and it is still doing really well. Even I think 2 months later, I checked yesterday, it was still a bestseller, which is cool. Um, but that's not why I wrote the book, is to, like, it's not about me. It's about getting these stories out there to help other people. And not to be negative about book writing, but book writing is not a get rich scheme. It's you know you make $2 a book or something. I mean, I don't know how much I spent on it, but I hope to one day make my money back that I put into it. But I didn't do it for that. I did it for everyone, because it was a
And I'm sure,
format that allowed me to share.
yeah, a format to allow you to share, but I'm sure it allowed you to, really see what your story really is, right? I'm sure you went through a lot writing it as well, personally, to put all that
Yeah.
in there. And I truly believe that this book is a great gift for people who are grieving. I really do. So, what's the name of the book?
Well, the book is called The Language of Spirit. And why I chose that name was in that title is because I believe what I've been learning all of my life through all my experiences is a language of connection and communication from the spirit world. And if with the book helping people to learn that language for themselves and to kind of even further or go beyond that if they so choose. But there's a language there, whether it's through the signs or whether it's how they actually communicate to us personally. Being a medium, I have that unique ability to kind of allow spirit and have spirit connect and communicate to me. And even how they communicate to me, kind of detail in there so that you can understand the principles of what it's like to receive information. I mean, it's if you ever watch, like, John Holland or John Edward, Teresa Caputo out there in the world, I mean, they're out there doing great work themselves too. But how does that work? Like, how does that come to them? I mean, it's not as far out there as you may think. I think I clearly explain, like, how that information comes to all people like us. And I do
Yeah.
believe we all have the abilities to learn how to receive and understand and perceive, and to let that flow in our lives. So
And I feel the same as well. When you do open your heart to even the concept, you start seeing how spirit's talking to you, and that language, that how they speak to you. And for everybody it's different, right? I mean, the most common ones are, feathers and dimes and songs. So there's some consistency, so people can say, oh yeah, I was thinking of that person when I saw the feather, because and I love that there is some consistency. So when people see those, feathers or dimes, and they're like, oh, I was thinking of so when I saw that's pretty cool. Or but there is, some really unique signs per person, right? Um, like for me, with I know we have blue jays in common, but not many people have that for loved ones, right? Or for
No.
me, spiders too, right? Like spiders for Carter. And it's funny because this whole time we've been doing this video, the spider's been crawling on this desk here, right? Like I've never seen a spider in my office
No way.
till today. So,
Oh, that's so
like
cool.
they're there. Yeah, they're
There.
there. They're so there. And
So why
I think,
spiders? I'm curious. Why spiders with Carter? What's
how did that become a language between him and
Yeah.
I? One day I was sitting at his grave, and I often, at the beginning of my grieving journey, would sit and meditate at his grave and ask questions and just really try to understand why the hell I had to go through what I was going through. And and then I opened my eyes, and I hadn't noticed it before, but there was this huge spider web on his cross, and in the middle was the spider. And it just the timing and the way I came out of the meditation and it being right there, it was like, okay, well, that's a sign I need to pay attention to. So when I looked it up, for me, where I looked it up, because every time you look up an animal or something, they do say something a bit different, was all about, you write your story. Like our story is, we have choice. We can write our story, like weave our own web, right? So to me, when I was talking to him at that time in the meditation, it was like, okay, well, I have a choice of this grief. I can let it take over my life and dwell in it, or I can embrace it and move through it. It was kind of like I had a story to write about my grief. Which one was it going to be? Which
Hmm.
was, and now the spiders show up at the weirdest places. Like, for instance, we're talking about spirit, we're talking about him. He shows up on the desk, right? And yesterday, my
Hmm.
husband and I were talking about him in the living room, and and one came from the ceiling in the middle of the room, hanging on a piece of web. So
Hmm.
he's just very apparent in spiders.
That's cool. That's so awesome.
Yeah,
That's an awesome sign. I've never, that's a very unique sign. I've never heard that from anyone ever. You're the only person I've ever heard. So it's a very unique, special sign that is yours for sure.
yeah, and like
I
you
love,
said,
I
it
love
happened
that.
over and over again, right? Like, to
Right.
reinforce that it's a sign, it happened over and over again. So it's like, at first I kind of judged it, like, what? You're showing up in spiders? That's weird, but he does. He does.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, when I mean, I get an image. I mean, I don't know why I see this image, but you know how you see a spider web outside and it's all like dewy and misty, but you can actually see the web?
Yep.
Is that, what is there, do you have a picture like this somewhere? Why would I see this image? Like I'm actually seeing like not just like a web outside, but where it's wet and you can actually see the spider web. Like it's
Well,
apparent visual.
when I first saw it, it was like that, right? On his
Okay.
cross.
Yeah.
Um, there's the only thing that we would have that would represent somewhat of a web would be, dream catchers in our home. But
Yeah.
I
I'm gonna just
often
say,
see.
watch for the like the very apparent spider web that is really big, that is like wet, and it's like it's you can really see it because it's very integral, like put together and things like that. So even those would be a sign of some sort.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I would even look for a design in it. Maybe he's like inspiring, designing this,
Like Charlotte's Web.
this, yeah, design, making a big heart in the spider web or something like that. That'd be so cool.
That
But you
would
know
be
what?
cool.
That's
Like,
possible. That's absolutely
yeah,
possible. They can do stuff like that. So, I mean, if I mean, I feel like he's like showing me an image for a reason, so I think maybe he's going to like do something really cool to get your attention. Just make sure you tag me in that post.
I will. I will. I will definitely take you in that post. And
Okay.
before we go too, I'll open it to questions now if anybody has any. There's been lots of comments, Sean, so when we're done, if you wanna, when you have time to go through them,
Sure, yeah.
um, um, it's like someone said the language of spirit is my go-to book on spirit. Thank you so much, Sean, for writing this real gem.
Oh, who is
So
that
that's
person?
awesome. Pardon?
Who is that
That's
person?
Bevy Edwards.
Hi, Bevy Edwards. Thank you.
And then there's Patty Gunderson Tuck. Trust that your spirits will give you the message at the right time when you are ready. So she must have had experienced the same.
Hmm.
And there's lots of hellos. Denise Oak, Natasha Hope, Darlene Burton. There's lots of people here.
Oh, cool. That's so
Um,
awesome.
but I would love for you. You also have some local stuff going on this summer because I know you're coming to Moncton in August. So
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
excited
coming
about
to
that.
Moncton August 11th at I think the Lions Club, I believe. I'm not sure exactly where. It's on my website. I have the address there, but yeah, I'm really looking forward. I've come to Moncton probably for the last 4 years, and I always like coming up and connecting to people up there. It's not that far away. It's like it just seems like just up the road. It's not that far. Moncton, I love the town of Moncton, the city of Moncton, and the people there are really nice and good people, and I always enjoy going there.
Yeah, there's a group of us going, so I'm excited. We will be there.
Okay.
Do you have any other shows? I think you have some
Yeah,
in Nova
I
Scotia,
have
don't
one
you?
coming up next week on Tuesday, June 26th in Dartmouth at the Doubletree by Hilton, right beside the old bridge there. It's on between doors open at 6:30, but the show is from 7 to 9. I'll be doing book signings after, and then I have I think June 30th I'll be at the Bears Lake Indigo Chapters location and doing book signings, and think it might be July 18th over in the Dartmouth chapters, Indigo chapters there, signing books. I think I'll be in Yarmouth. Not sure. I think it's July 21st. I'm not sure. I might be getting my dates mixed up, but because I don't have them on
So where
hand.
where can they find where you be at? Is it all
Right.
on your
You go to my
website?
website, yeah, sean-leonard.com. Go under the events tab, and everything is listed from where I'll be for book signings or for where I'll be for my live events. So, and I do have a clip on my Facebook page, a little bit of a clip, about 9 minutes, I believe, me kind of doing some like little readings from a show last year that I did. Um, so you can go and watch that if you want to kind of see what it's like to kind of, experience what it's like to come see me so that you can get a gist. I'm usually pretty comical with my messages or delivering messages. Spirit isn't always like just like a stick in the mud and just sad. It doesn't mean that there isn't sad moments, but there's funny moments from Spirit too. So, and that's you'll get to see how they connect and communicate to me and how it kind of comes through. So. And for you, because I'm
Um,
going to share this, I don't know if this is on my page yet or not, but I'm obviously going to share it on my page.
yeah.
So I have a question for you. I mean, maybe you could explain your services or what you do so that my audience will know who you are.
Okay. I'm a spiritual grief coach. So what I do is I help people connect with their intuition to help them heal. So everyone's journey through grief is different. Everyone's healing path is different. So what does that look like from them? Help them determine what that looks like and be with them, hold space for them as they go through that. So I truly believe that it's different for everyone. So to help them find those breadcrumbs through their healing, so to hold space for them, and to teach them to find that stillness and to listen to that intuition, and to a point, spirit world as well, right? To see those signs from their loved ones, to know how to follow them to heal. So essentially, that in a bucket is what I do. I offer in person and online sessions as well. And you can find me at chrissyann.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So I'm going to suggest all of my people to go check out Chrissy. And if you haven't liked her page, please like her page and, follow her. I know she's doing great work. So I'm really happy that we're able to do this today, Chrissy. So thank you for the invite and teaching me a little bit about how to do split screen, FaceTime, or Facebook Live.
Yeah, it's fun. It's so much fun. Before we go, I'm just going to touch base on this one thing I see from Carol Saunier. If I say your name wrong, I'm sorry. It says, "Do you know what deers represent? I was feeling the need to see them, and a few days later, they were on my lawn." So I just wanted to touch base on that and say, like, when you see an animal and you want to know what it means, the first thing I do, honestly, is go to Google and put totem after it, and whatever website speaks to you, because each website's going to be different. So which one's jumping out to you, and read that one.
Right.
Did
And
you
the
have any
only thing I
comments
would
on that?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that would be, I mean, if you have somebody that's passed over in spirit, which most people do, um, who do you think of when you see something like that? Would it be your dad or would it be your grandfather? Was there a hunter that somebody passed away and they love deers? Although I don't think they're hunting deers, maybe they're sending you the deers. But I have a feeling it's probably a sign from somebody in spirit to say, hey, I'm with you. I want you to remember me, that I'm here. And I mean, also look up the meaning because it could be could be a lot of depth to a message. It could be a lot bigger than you know. And then whenever you see that sign where it shows up, then it has meaning, a lot of meaning, depending on what you're going through.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Sean. Um, and she said it's her father. So
Yeah,
she's
I
responding
figured it
to
was
what you
her
said.
father or grandfather. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I really enjoyed this conversation. I could talk to you all day.
Well, I love talking. I love spirit talk. I love talking about, connection and helping people understand this and, helping people understand a bigger picture. It's like, it's my passion. I mean, how could you ever get tired of something like this?
Yeah. And it truly is, because you light right up. You light right up when you talk about it, and it's wonderful to see. So we'll see you in August. Hopefully, we'll have a few minutes to say hi when you're here. And
For sure we will, yeah.
thank you so much for this chat. And maybe we'll do it again.
And we will. Okay. Well, have a good day and thank you
All right.
everybody for tuning in and I look forward to doing more of these in the future.
Awesome. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.